If you've already listened to episode 81 of the Alfa Romeo Driver podcast, you might be slightly confused as to the layout of the Millbrook hill route, so we're going to take you around a couple of laps in the Tonale Q4. So we're on the approach to the main part of the test route now, keeping some rumble strips on the left-hand side, partly so they didn't ruin the recording. Now we're going to turn into the first right-hander, which is a fairly easy corner as we start the run up the first hill. Second corner is a little bit tighter, and again there's some rumble strips on the left hand side, so tend to stay into the right hand side of the lane. This is where the DS7 rolled horribly when we went round in that vehicle. Up to the first tight right hander, which takes us downhill into a hairpin. This is where I got stuck behind an Alpine for a little while, and they accelerated away down the hill. As you can see, the Tonale holds the line really well. Nice little sweeping section here as we come round to the second uphill, which is followed by a quite tight 90-degree right-hander down towards a hairpin. So this is the corner where the Lexus tried to kill me. Just would not turn into this corner. See some cones on the left-hand side. This is supposed to be an overtaking area. Those cones did make that tricky if you were side by side with somebody coming into this section of the track. Round a tight hairpin, again you can see the Tonale takes that really nicely. Got a van in front of us which isn't going to help, but now down through what would be one of the fastest parts of the circuit, but obviously there's a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit officer. Then we go into a right-hander, which is actually quite a tricky corner as it falls away. Heading down towards the heavily cambered right-hander that I've talked about a couple of times in the podcast. I can't really go round on the inside with the van in front of me, but I'll take the right line but hang behind him. As you can see, he's coming into my lane a little bit. This is part of the steepest part of the circuit. We're going to come around a right-hander and then downhill and up the steepest section. This is the section of the course after this next left-hander where I was seeing whether the cars could adequately take this at the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit for the track, and I think everything except the Lexus managed that quite comfortably. The Lexus in eco mode, to be fair. Lovely corner at the top of here, really tight left-hander as we turn round and down towards what is one of my favourite parts of the circuit. We're going to go into a tight right-hander and then a series of sweeping rolling bends. Again, not ideal behind a van, but a really nice part of the course to drive. And as we come around this last sweeping left-hander, you'll see that we're entering the 15-mile-an-hour cone section that I talked about on the podcast. So we are now through that section, or going through that section. And that's essentially the end of the lap. So we're now heading back round to the roundabout to go round again. You'll see as we have to stop at a junction shortly, and then we run down towards the roundabout, and you can see there's one of the test sections with some very heavy lumps in the road to test suspension, which we won't be taking. We'll be taking the smoother section of the road to the right-hand side. So you can see that section on the left there. And that's the famous coach on the left-hand side that sported my first few laps of the day. Still no idea why that was driving around the hill route, but obviously we had plenty of time as we were there all day. So now we're going to go round and do a second lap. We have a clearer first half to the lap this time round. That's the lay-by on the left-hand side where I put the Volvo XC40 Recharge into one pedal mode before I went round for my second lap in that. Again, avoiding the rumble strips on the left-hand side. And taking a wider line, just missing the last strip as we turn up towards the hill. This is a relatively gentle slope, but the right, left, right corners give you a good sense of how well the roll is controlled in the body. Traffic again, unfortunately, on lap 2. As I said in the podcast, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and this is the first time we've had quite this much traffic on the hill route. Again, lovely controlled cornering from the Tonale as we head down through this section up towards Lexus Death Corner. No problem in this, of course. Hold the outside and then turn in, getting a better idea of where those cones are now. You can see traffic starting to build up. We had a completely clear road ahead of us as we started this lap, and now we've got cars everywhere. There are very limited overtaking opportunities. The run up to the first hill, just after the rumble strips to the left hand side, and the up and down sections from that last hairpin are pretty much the only places that you're encouraged to overtake. This is kind of treated as a 2-lane road by most people, so people do pass here, but obviously not through the apex of corners. It's a test track, not a racetrack. As you can see, the Tonale is only constrained here by the car in front of us. The rear electric motor is giving it a big push up the hill. Again, tight round the left-hander. And back down into the sweepy section. Again, unfortunately, traffic ahead of us, so you don't get to see how much fun this section can really be. And into what is effectively the last corner, because once we're through this, we're into the cone section. And we are heading back to finish off our second lap. So I hope that was useful. Hope it made sense in the context of the podcast. If you haven't listened to the podcast yet, then go to aroc-uk.com/podcasts, and you'll be able to find all of the details of episode 81 when we test the Tonale Q4 and a couple of its rivals, the DS7, the Lexus NX 400 Plus, and the Volvo XC40 Recharge.